So then, being a digital citizen is taking part in civic and financial duties online. But as Mossberger points out, the ideology of the civil action is not skewed politically to either a left or right-wing ideology, but rather is based on maintaining the hegemony of a majority view. Put another way, given that I'm asked if there is a right or wrong way to be a digital citizen, reflecting on the many ideologies the internet can support, I think we can say for sure if there is a right or wrong way to use the internet, it's much more likely to be determined by conforming to a majority opinion than solely by political ideology influencing the user. Being a good digital citizen doesn't mean, for instance, only voting for left-wing or right-wing candidates, or even voting in a way that is most beneficial to a society's most vulnerable. It is about contributing to various republics in a manner that reinforces the strength of those republics. Given that being a good digital citizen is shaped more by contributing to the online community and fulfilling civil duties than questioning authority and striving for an objective greater good, can we really claim that there is a right way to be online? An alternative to engaging with political organisations in the most obvious sense would be connections to a charity group or fundraiser organisation, such as the web platform JustGiving.com. A UK-based fundraising website that helps charities to more successfully raise funds to meaningfully engage with civic duties. Just Giving have raised more than $4 billion for charities so far, using digital technology to optimize donation flows, reaching more people than ever while streamlining the donation process through the use of clever software called APIs. Users of Just Giving are satisfying all of Mossberger's criteria as they use online technology frequently, use it to disseminate and generate political information, and to satisfy their civic duties of supporting others by raising money. Unlike contributing to dominant ideologies of online groups then, being active on JustGiving.com must surely be as close to an objective good as we can reach for in online activity. But this unfortunately takes us back to the issue discussed in the previous video. That by being online, we contribute to the political impact of large corporations such as Facebook, Apple, and Amazon. Just Giving, to be clear, is entirely dependent on Amazon's AWS. It's been nominated for awards for their cooperation with Amazon's charity team for optimizations to their platform. This criticism, that Just Giving is dependent on a corporation to raise its money, could equally be levelled at the previous examples as well. Both left and right-wing online campaigners rely on social media corporations like Facebook to express their beliefs. We might then logically ask why being connected to Amazon or Facebook is such a bad thing. After all, they're just a large company, and they do raise money for charities themselves. It's not illegal to be a large company, and they do hire a lot of people. Well, there's nothing wrong with taking the position that large companies are not inherently bad in and of themselves, per se. But in the case of Amazon, Facebook, and Apple, well, it doesn't take a lot of digging to find prominent news stories that paint them in a damning light. Take, for instance, Amazon's poor treatment of its labour force, Facebook's involvement in the Cambridge Analytica scandal, and their own data about the damaging psychological effects of its platforms such as Instagram, while Apple's involvement with conflict minerals and recent legal actions concerning monopolistic tactics don't reflect favourably on the company. This brings us to an awkward position, where in order to really settle whether or not there is a good way to be online, we would need to ask ourselves some very difficult moral questions about the nature of our being online, comparing the outcomes of our actions to the suffering of those that enable it. We could, for instance, follow what is called the Kantian categorical imperative or deontological school of thought that suggests immorality is immoral no matter what the context. From this perspective, any good generated by money raised through JustGiving.com is rendered moot, as it's built on the exploitation of human labourers by Amazon. An alternative perspective is to engage in a utilitarian morality of theorists such as John Stuart Mill and to ask ourselves if the money gathered through online charities or the awareness spread through online political campaigns is equal to or in excess of the aforementioned human costs. Now, I'm not sure about you, but I'm not sure that I'm ready to do the maths when it comes to human lives. Another, perhaps unconventional approach is to take an ethical approach based on the context and conditions of a time. A particular situationist ethics presents itself in the 21st century and is mentioned in Eugenia Ciapera's work, building on the ideas of convergent culture, formulated by longtime scholar of fandom and geek culture, Henry Jenkins. Although usually discussed in relation to various forms of media coming together into a single platform, it's possible to instead think of convergent media as the overlapping of politics and online culture in the era of convergent culture itself. From the perspective of convergent culture, politics and digital media, as well as the material labour and human suffering implicit in their existence, is simply the context of our contemporary milieu. Any ethical stance taken today, whether by a member of the British Conservative Party or a member of an ecological protest group, must begin with the knowledge that media, technology and politics are so messily integrated for the average Westerner that our morality is limited to only what is possible within these constraints. Maybe we're left with the somewhat uncomfortable conclusion that the only good we can achieve today is a good relative to the mechanisms of construction and communication that our society is built on. And don't get me wrong, this wouldn't mean that JustGiving.com isn't genuinely doing good in the 21st century. It's just that it would be only as much of a moral good that comes accompanied with the unspoken understanding that it's built on the suffering of the miners, factory labourers, and even the young children that construct and subsequently recycle our digital goods, alongside the damage that this does to our planet and the non-human animals that share it with us. This is still, of course, a form of good, and arguably, it's not any less of a good than good deeds done in the past that were just as problematically built on legacies of slavery and colonialism. But we are now more informed than ever, and perhaps our morality must strive to reflect the convergent nature of our digital culture and digital citizenship. What do you think? Is it possible to be good online today? Does that goodness always come with a qualifying statement attached? Is the goodness of the 21st century always predicated on the suffering of others? It's not a very bright subject. It's not very easy going, but do try to let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.